Welcome to the Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community, a space where justice meets action and community voices rise. Each episode, we bring you stories from the front lines, changemakers, disruptors, and everyday heroes who are building a more just, equitable, and liberated world. This is more than a podcast. It's a call to listen, learn, and move together. You were just listening to music from the incredibly talented Stephen Kong. You can find him on Spotify and Bandcamp. Today we have with us Peter Gunn. Peter Gunn is a U.S. Air Force veteran, avid bodybuilder, coffee connoisseur, lead guitarist for the international band the Angellics, and a poet dedicated to reviving the epic literary traditions of the past. His life has been shaped by defining experiences. From a childhood near-death encounter at age 7 to navigating morbid obesity and serving as an altar boy where he began to notice the shortcomings within the Roman Catholic Church. After honorably serving 20 years in the U.S. Air Force, Peter became a father in 2010, which ignited his passion for introducing his daughter to classic poetry. Recognizing the absence of feminine representation within the traditional hero's journey, he began writing the Amazons and developed LLP. Linked lyrical poetry, a modern poetic form that brings new energy to epic storytelling. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit in 2020, Peter felt called to create the Sigma Squad graphic novel series, an accessible, visually driven narrative inspired by ancient Gnostic Gospels and aimed at awakening readers to deeper truths. In early 2025, Peter joined forces with musicians from Germany to form the Angellics. Their debut album, Hazing Hades, was released on August 17, 2025, marking a bold new chapter in Peter's artistic journey.
Breaking the norm, fueling the system, here to reform. Midnight howling, engines ignite, gonna tear through the dark like a demon in flight. We ain't slowing down, no, we never obey. This beast is alive and it's breaking away. Raging like thunder, we shatter the night. Lightning and hunger, we're ready to fight. This is the storm that you can't put under. We shake the world, raging like thunder.
Okay, well, hello. I'm really excited and grateful that you're here today. I've been enjoying your work immensely, and I really love how you use your platform to amplify, just different kind of voices and just that representation. But how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on your podcast, Denise. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure.
No, of course. So just to start off, so your journey spans military service, music, poetry, and graphic novels. So when you think about the thread connecting all of these chapters, what do you feel that has been driving your purpose?
Well, one thing is the common with my entire life is the hero's journey, and I always think about it. I always realize, like, wait a minute, I'm living it. It really is, and even though when you look at the hero's journey, there's it seems to be an end to it, but there really is no end to it because the cycle keeps continuing over and over and over again. You just change throughout the journey.
Yeah, no, I love that a lot. And, I want to talk more about your childhood because you've said that you've experienced a near-death experience or encounter at age 7. So how has that shaped the way that you see justice, purpose, and just your role in the world?
Well, any person that's had an NDE, I don't think there's one I've met or read about that said it hasn't changed their life. Mm-hmm. So, you come back changed, and
yeah.
I came back, me especially, I came back changed because when I came back, I was having paranormal experiences. Now, they did die down a little bit, but I've always been very much an empath and been very able to detect malevolence when it came near me. So even
Okay.
if it's a mile down the road, I know it right away. And it's
Yeah.
gotten my life's path, really, and
Yeah.
um, I'm very much connected still. I really feel I'm very, very connected. And my
Yeah.
discernment is usually a lot more on par than other people's.
No, that's cool. Do you feel like you use that for like just positive, or how does that show up in your life though? Just like being an empath. Because I know that you support a lot of people. It feels like you just have this genuine concern. Do you feel that like that connection also helps drive your work as well?
Oh yes, very much so. I mean, I
Mhm.
feel I feel misery if I walk in a room and so much not having a good, I feel it right away.
Yeah.
Which is also leads to people that are like me are very much stay away from society. We tend to be mouses in the wall, and we just don't we stay away because we
Yeah.
feel everything. We walk into a crowd and we feel everybody's emotion. We go to a concert, we feel everybody's emotion. So it's very difficult for us to process it. So it's actually draining for us.
Yeah, no, because I would agree that I'm also an empath. And so I think, I'll just share a little bit about myself to see if it resonates with you too. But I had a lot of trauma growing up, also through adulthood. And I think just my own activism, I want to be able to help and support other people just because I know what it's like to feel that kind of pain. Do you feel that way too, just because you're so sensitive to, just energy around you? That's why you want to help do good for others?
Oh yes, because everybody, no person would walk in and say, "Hey, I am doing fine," but I know right away, hey, you're not doing fine.
Yeah.
So that happens more often than you would think. And people aren't doing fine. So it's up to people that know better to do something about it. Really, it's a gift that you've been given, you and me,
Right.
and you have to use it for the betterment
Yeah.
of humanity.
No, that's really beautiful. So I'd like to talk more about your experiences with the church. So growing up with challenges like childhood obesity and witnessing failures within the church, how did these early experiences influence your perception of power, morality, and systems of authority?
Well, when you're brought up in the church, I was brought up Roman Catholic. I actually had to learn how to speak Latin. I was an altar
Okay.
boy, and you don't question the priest. That's one
Okay.
of the things you do. You don't question the priest, and it actually there was an old nun.
Uh-huh.
She looked a lot like the witch from the Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
Just her skin wasn't green, but she had the big nose and the
What's a
wart,
green?
oh my
Uh-huh.
goodness. But she would have us put our hands out as children, and then she would slap it with a ruler.
Okay.
And whenever we misbehaved or anything like that, so you would get punished all the time. If you stepped out of line, it was a constant struggle. So any independent thought, if you
Mhm.
were a rebellious child, that was usually put a kibosh on right away,
Okay.
or they were asked, or you were asked not to come back. And that unfortunately that happens a lot in the old school Roman Catholic Church. It really does. They're not very tolerant of it,
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate because then I saw how the priest was abusing his authority. Me as
Uh-huh.
it was one of the first times. It was actually I think the third time I was serving mass as an altar boy, and he took
Okay.
out the altar wine. Okay, and then he took a sip. I'm like, wow, okay. But then he offers us
Yeah.
wine too, and the other altar boy took a sip, and I'm like, okay. We're in
Yeah.
Rome, and I took a sip. I was only 12 years old, so all three of us went out to the serve mass drunk, and I got sick as a dog. But then I soon realized,
Wow.
like, wait a minute, he's saying one thing out there, preaching one thing, but doing another thing behind the altar. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, this isn't for me. This isn't for me. I could identify with the priest serving humanity very much. I mean, there was a time in my life when I was actually considering doing that, going into priesthood. But
Yeah.
then things like that, and seeing how it's two faced, no, that's not for me. No.
Yeah. No, actually, I wanted a follow-up question to that. Just your experience being an altar boy. So, like, with that experience, what did that teach you about, like, just institutional responsibility and community leadership?
Well, you're looked up to as so we say, a surrogate of the priest when he's not there. So
Yeah.
then, in his absence, what you say holds water actually. And I would then again, we had actually like a rank structure within the altar boys. I believe
Hmm.
there were 6 or 7 different ranks, and then
Yeah.
the highest ranking one would fill in for the priest to say, do this or that, and do A or B when he's not there to give his opinion. And there again, I saw a lot of fault in it. like he shouldn't be doing that, he shouldn't be saying that, things like that. So it was a lot
Okay.
of two faces. Yeah, in the Roman Catholic Church, and it wasn't just one church. Because as we moved around a lot, as I moved around as a child, and we went to different churches, but it was basically the same thing everywhere you went.
Yeah. No, thank you for bringing that up because, that's something that I think about a lot too, just like power and the abuse of power. But like for me, like personally, I'm an activist and, I really believe in the power of the people and that, people can actually lead and do good things. So do you also believe in that though? Do you feel like people do have the power to be responsible leaders in their community?
I feel without the constraints of being a priest, I'm more powerful
Hmm.
because I can go and do things the priest cannot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel I'm more powerful. I can um, move laterally quicker and faster,
Yeah.
and do things more, better than a priest can do, honestly. So, because he's under constraints. If
Right.
he steps out of line, the bishop, there again, there's their rank structure. The bishop keeps him in line. If he does something that priest, oh no, you got to do this. You got to,
Mhm.
step back in line. But with nobody above me right now, I mean, I'm retired from the military. It's game on. And go full throttle.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. And, I want to talk more about your storytelling because that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast. I'm a really firm believer in just like positive representation in storytelling. So you've talked about how becoming a father expanded your understanding of representation. So how did parenthood shift your views on storytelling and equity?
Well, every parent wants to enroll their children into the things they loved. Of
Hmm.
course, it's only
Right.
natural. And in 2010, when I had my daughter, I started looking for novels and things that to enroll her in or read to her as a child,
Uh-huh.
that I loved as a child. So, the Odyssey, Beowulf, Dante's Inferno. I love poetry. I love the epics, the classics.
Uh-huh.
And I started looking around. I'm like, wait a minute, where are all the female heroines?
Yeah.
Why?
That's
You ask
beautiful.
a question like, why would a
Yeah.
young girl willingly want to read this? How can she relate? Unless it's
Hmm.
forced for her, as an assignment in school,
Yeah.
why would she pick this book up?
Yeah.
There's nothing in it for her, so that she can't relate.
Yeah.
And that's when poetry has to not only reinvent itself, but then bring in, the feminine, really. And what I did
Uh-huh.
was bring in the feminine, but also bring in the masculine. So there's a synergy in my book, The Amazons, of the feminine and the masculine.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I want to talk more about that too. So, just with that, so you created the Amazons to address the lack of feminine representation in the hero's journey. So what does reimagining mythology, through a more inclusive lens mean to you? Like, what does it mean
Well,
to like have more like representation? When I feel like storytelling can often be like male dominated. So how is this reimagining basically like changing how we tell stories?
with the Amazons, I looked at it from a different perspective. Okay, so you have
Okay.
think of a Spartan society. Okay,
Uh-huh.
but except they're all female, so all feminine, and these are
Okay.
giants. These women are giants, so they're
Okay.
10 foot tall. Okay, and they don't
Hmm.
need a man.
Okay.
Okay, so then you have to ask yourself, if you were thrust in that society as a man,
Yeah.
what attributes would they see in me? Because there
Okay.
was one character in there in the very beginning in stanza one that I,
Hmm.
I, I purposely included this person because he was always complaining, he was overweight, always overeating. He had no attributes that help society out as a whole. Okay,
Okay.
it was all for it. Me, and that's all he cared about. That, and the Amazons saw that, and they wanted nothing to do with him. And you have to ask yourself, if you were a man, I mean, a lot of men are born with physical
Yeah.
strength, but they don't care about that in that society. So
Hmm.
what else do you have to offer humanity as a whole, or a society like that? How would
Yeah.
they view you? And you can't
Yeah.
help but ask yourself that.
Yeah. No, I really love that. So, how do you hope that readers, especially your younger readers, will see themselves in the world differently after reading your stories?
Well, that the hero's journey isn't dominated by the masculine. A female can
Hmm.
go out on her own hero's journey, and that's one of the reasons why I wrote it. It is to,
Yeah.
and everyone's hero's journey is different. So it might be something as, you just turned 18 and you're going off to college for the first time. That's the start of your hero's journey. It might
Hmm.
be you're moving to a new location, and you're starting a new school. That's your hero's journey. But look
Yeah.
at it as a journey, and also realize it's not about the end. Okay,
Hmm.
because the hero's journey never ends. It's all about the journey and now. You
Yeah.
know, do
Yeah.
we listen to it? Do we start listening to a song, a quick move to the end because we want to hear the end? No, you want to hear the song. It's all about the journey in the song, in the story, in your life.
Yeah, no, that's really beautiful. And something that I mentioned to you earlier, so I do consider myself an activist, but I think the thing about like labels, it can get like a little tricky. Like people, I think when it comes to activism, I think people have negative views of that. But for me, it's just like activism to me means like just having positive representation, people just having the ability to live their lives the way that they want and, have access to resources. So, I don't know what your political beliefs are, but I was wondering like, what you're doing is so beautiful, though. I was just wondering if you feel like your push for positive representation of females in storytelling is like a form of activism or not.
Oh yes, very much so. Because
Yeah.
I've there are people I've talked to from other parts of the country, or I should say, other parts of the world that believe in arranged marriages, and they
Hmm.
weren't so happy about me trying to empower females because they want to keep the feminine down. And we
Okay.
actually, off camera, just during the podcast, actually sort of got in an argument. Of course, everything
Oh,
was
okay.
bleeped and deleted, but he had very strong, and he did not like that. He did not want to encourage females. So there are a lot of people. There are people out there, yeah,
Why do you
that feel
think
that way.
people are so challenged by that though? Because that's what I've been thinking a lot too. Like, I don't know why people are so upset about things that don't really personally affect them. It comes like to a lot of different politics and just personal things. But yeah, why do you think there's that pushback of people not wanting to see more positive, strong female figures?
Fear,
Fear.
because they're afraid to go out of their NPC mentality to push against society.
Hmm.
Okay, they're afraid that it's going to come on them, their family. They're going to go frowned upon. Okay, they don't want to be an
Hmm.
outcast. Okay, they want
Yeah.
that arranged marriage. They want that wife that's there taking care of them 24/7.
Hmm.
That's why they're fighting against. They're afraid to have it taken away.
Yeah. What do you think the world can look like if we can get over these like judgments and stereotypes? Like if positive female representation was like the norm rather than like the exception?
It's going to take longer than my lifetime,
Okay.
but I do feel we're on the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you
yeah.
think could be different though if like that was like normal though? Like if people just accepted that about women? And because I feel like as a woman myself, a woman of color specifically, like I do feel lot of the oppression. So, I think that's where my fight goes, like to wanting to, you know, fight for equity in that sense. But yeah, how do you think things will be different if like women didn't have to like have this sort of oppression that we have to fight against?
Well, they would be able to then become themselves. I mean, how many women are afraid to go out for a jog? How many
Yeah.
women are afraid to go into a class? Let's say you wanted to try painting, but then you realize it's full of men. A lot of women
Yeah.
might feel intimidated by that. I wouldn't do it. So it would allow women to start to express themselves, to be themselves further as it changes the society. Because fear, there again, here again, fear is keeping them down. Yeah.
Yeah.
And preventing change.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. I really love that. And, I want to talk more about your experience in the military. So you said that you've served 20 years in the Air Force. So how did your
Yeah.
military experience shape your understanding of leadership and human impact on larger institutions?
A lot of people say that there's no such thing as utopian society,
Okay.
and I disagree because they never look at it from the viewpoint of the military. We
Okay.
have all races, all religions, all colors, you name it, it's
Hmm.
there in the military. Okay,
Okay.
you can think about United States society. So the military is like a cross section of 10% of it.
Hmm.
Okay, everyone's there. Okay,
Uh-huh.
when things go right, okay, you're always going to have the people that don't want to do their job. That happens. But when things
Okay.
go right, you have all races, all religions, everybody teamwork together
Yeah.
to to support a mission.
Okay.
Where else does that happen?
Yeah.
Everybody puts away their petty wants and needs and
Hmm.
gets the mission done. Gets what needs to be done. I think it's beautiful. I've seen it many, many times, and I think it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Do you think that it's possible for us to like create a utopia outside of that environment, like in the larger world? Do you think something like that is possible?
You have to. Okay, now actually, there have been studies done about this.
Okay.
It's usually in groups of 200 or less that
Mm-hmm.
yes, it can happen.
Okay.
People can get along. You can have neighbors and stuff. But when the
Yeah.
number gets too high, there's always one person that tries to take control.
Right.
Awesome. Even with like monkeys and apes and
Mhm.
things like that, it happens there too. So it's
Okay.
unfortunate, but it would have to be like a small little commune. And
Okay.
that happens. There are a lot of those, communes that are around there. The small group of people and they all get along. There's family communes.
Yeah.
Everyone has a piece of property on that land and they all get along and support each other. But if
Why?
it gets too large, someone's
Yeah.
going to say, okay, I need to be in charge.
Yeah. Why do you think it's 200? Why that number?
What's that?
Why do you think it's 200? What makes
I
you think
read
it's
that a
that
while
number?
ago.
Okay.
It was just around that. It was around that number
Okay.
when the population increased. When someone stepped in and tried to take control, tried to take
Okay.
resources from the other people. It was
Okay.
usually hovering around that number when it happened.
Do you think that's the issue though? Because I've had conversations with other guests on this podcast too, just like the concentration of power on the very few. Do you find like that might be the issue that we've had in like just the larger world, just why we're having so many like conflicts and everything that, concentration of power, like people who step up and take that power and try to abuse it?
Well, it depends. Do you want me to go down a rabbit hole with my answer?
No, I love going down rabbit holes, honestly.
Okay, because this is a deep one.
Yeah.
I was doing some research for another
Okay.
topic, and I came across. I was going through the Gospel of Thomas, which is written in Coptic. So I started to having to teach myself Coptic,
Mm-hmm.
and I was using AI to help me as well. And there's a part in there where it talks about Genesis and Adam and Eve. The word penis and the word fruit are extremely similar, except there's one little mark that changes the way they're written. And I like, wait a minute. And
Yeah.
that's what I started thinking. Like, wait a minute. Okay. What if Lucifer had relationship with Eve and therefore bred Cain?
Uh-huh.
Therefore, Cain lineage is out there in the world.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And it did happen. He bred. Well, that would almost make, I mean, you can't quite say that they'd be human then, would they? They'd be partially human.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
My theory, okay, this is my conspiracy theory, is to this day, it's that lineage, that bloodline. They
Mm.
call them the elites. Okay.
Okay.
The people with all the money and control.
Okay.
They are the ones that are pulling the strings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No,
And
that's
they're the ones
interesting.
causing
Yeah.
the trouble, one that's intentionally causing the wars.
Yeah. No, I've gone down that rabbit hole myself too, just like thinking about, I don't know, the New World Order. And I used to watch like videos on Illuminati. I think I won't go as far as like lizard people or aliens ruling the world. But no, I've also seen a lot of conspiracy theories because I feel like there's so much that happens in this world. It's like you can't make it up. It just feels like so like what's going on? Like it doesn't feel like reality. So
Well, okay.
I don't know. I
How
think
many
anything's
times
possible.
have you heard about or seen something happen and you ask yourself,
Yeah.
how could a human do this?
Yeah. Right.
Well, there's your answer because they're not quite human.
Okay.
They're being true to themselves, but they're of the line of Lucifer, the line of Cain.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's really interesting. I was wondering too, like were there any moments during your time in service that like challenged your beliefs or like maybe awakened new beliefs?
When I was in Afghanistan, I had to walk quite a bit, and I was about 75 miles from the border of Iran, way
Okay.
up in the mountains,
Okay.
and I was going back and forth to the training facility every day, and it's very very third world, okay, very barren, very
Okay.
very third world. If I had started walking a minute or two earlier that day, I wouldn't be here right now because then the mortar
Oh
hit
wow.
right where I would have been walking with my interpreter,
Wow.
you know,
Okay.
and that's that's one of the moments that changed my life and made me think, okay, wait a minute, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
Yeah, what am I doing? And it made me rethink the whole situation, really.
Thank you for sharing that. And just like, can you talk more about like your transition? So, how has transitioning from military life to creative life changed the way that you engage with communities and social issues? Because do you see any like similarities, or are they
Oh
different?
yeah, I'm more apt to now to go out and help other veterans. I'll talk about
Okay.
PTSD, which I have myself. I've been diagnosed with it. I
Okay.
go out and try to help them and talk to them and try to get aid to them if it possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I actually almost found by accident when I was developing my LLP for the Amazons, the linked lyrical poetry.
Okay.
It takes so much focus to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that all the other symptoms that I had from my PTSD seemed to go away, and
Oh,
actually,
okay.
like it didn't linger, and it went away for a while after because I had to be so focused. And
Okay.
then I had other veterans, do the same thing. They said, "Oh yeah, it does help." So
Mm.
it's a non-medicated way to help them with the things, and also ADHD as well.
Yeah, do you feel like you use like your creative side to like process through these hard things, like the PTSD, and like do you feel like you're telling your own stories as well through like your creative work?
Any author
Hmm.
that writes a book or even a paragraph, it's a part of them's in it, whether they want to think about
Yeah,
it or not. It's
that's
all a
beautiful.
part of me. Everything I've done is a part of me. And a lot of it's linked back to my NDE as well because it was so life changing.
Hmm.
And I feel like because the angel told me my job isn't done when I was on the other side, I feel
Okay.
like I have an angelic mandate to help humanity.
Yeah. Did you notice that life were different, or can you even remember like what life was like before you had that life-altering experience? Because age 7 is pretty young as a child.
Yeah.
Did you notice that there were changes, or can you even remember life before then?
Before that, no. You mean I was so young?
Yeah, no, that's what I
I
was
mean,
thinking too.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not really much of anything, really.
Yeah.
Honestly, my life started after the NDE.
Okay. Okay. No, that's wonderful. No, I really do believe in that though. Like just the power of like energies like around us too. So I'd also love to talk more about your music. So you recently joined musicians from Germany to form the
Mhm.
Angellics, and I've really been enjoying listening to this too. So, I think that music often brings people together in ways that words can't. So how does your band explore themes of issues such as like struggle or spiritual awakening, or are there other themes that your music does explore?
Well, spiritual awakening would be the song "Divination." We talk about walking away from society, basically, in the song,
Mm-hmm.
and we're fully supportive of it. All of us are Christian
Uh-huh.
minded, but not Christians. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we understand religion. We know it. God exists, Jesus exists. We don't deny it, but so, yeah, all of us had a falling out from the church,
Okay.
and so we tend to agree on things like that. Other songs like the Loop, okay,
Mm-hmm.
is about people that have repetitive cycles in their lives, and it's not just
Okay.
automatically people think, oh, I have alcohol,
Uh-huh.
or drugs, but it's not necessarily that. There's other things. I mean, I see a lot of young girls that pick the same boy for a type of boy,
Uh-huh.
time after time after time after time. They're in a
Okay.
loop as well, and they need to. That's one of the reasons why I made that song and wrote it that way is to help them realize, wait a minute, make them think, am I in a loop in some way in my life?
Yeah.
Because people don't realize it.
No, that's beautiful. And when you do songwriting or like think of what you're writing, are you writing it specifically to put it out there to audience, or are you primarily writing it for yourself? Because I think artists can do it like both ways.
Well, a lot of my writing not only comes from my big inventory of poems that I already had written, because if you listen to
Hmm.
the music,
Yeah.
everyone started out as a poem.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
every
Wow.
one of those songs started out as a poem, and
Okay.
when if you listen to it again, like, oh wait a minute, yeah, it is a poem.
Yeah.
You understand it, you're like, yeah, and I feel that makes the song hit home so much more because
Hmm.
if you like the melody and then the words stick with the melody, they mesh
Okay.
cohesively. It's going to stick in your brain. It's going to go. That song is going to be repeating in your head all day long, and the message is
Yeah.
then going to be repeating all day long. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's beautiful though. I wish I had creative talent, but yeah, I feel like when I'm going through like emotions, like I listen to my favorite song and it helps me in a way that, nothing can, like therapy or something. But, I think that there's really something special. So thank you for, that gift that you're putting out into the world. So,
Everyone has creative talent. You picked out the dress that you're wearing right now. You picked out the
uh-huh.
painting behind you.
Uh-huh.
That's your creativity.
Right. No, that's beautiful though. Thank you for sharing that. And I feel like, with this podcast, I feel like I've been able to like explore creativity, but not in the traditional sense though, because I love storytelling and pulling stories out of people and just like the process of editing and putting things together. But yeah, I think I don't consider myself an artist because it's not like in the typical sense. Like I don't do music. I write poetry. I wouldn't call myself a poet though. And I write, but I don't consider myself a writer. I feel like I'm not there with enough talent to like consider myself like an artist of any kind though. Yeah, but thank you
It's
for your kind
practice.
words.
It's practice. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 no, totally. So, your work blends spirituality, mythology, and social critique. So what role do you think spirituality plays in your understanding of just like building a more like a better world?
Well, I mean, speaking from a sense that a lot of the stuff I also write is channeled. So,
Mm-hmm.
especially a lot of the poetry and stuff like that, I'll get what I call downloads.
Uh-huh.
And it's usually around 3 a.m. when it happens, but sometimes it's just inconvenient times. And a lot of stuff is channeled that I write. So, it's
Okay.
messages that I feel need to be out there from the other side. And it's
Yeah.
by putting it into the song form, it's going to hit home so much easier for people when they understand it. They'll take it in easier. But it's things that need to be said, really.
Yeah. Yeah. No, do you feel like when you perform music, does it connect you more to like spirituality? Because as myself a listener, I feel more connected to spirituality as I'm listening to music. So as you're like playing it, do you feel like a deeper connection too?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I mean, artists will go into quote unquote their zone,
Uh-huh.
where they don't know that there's nothing between them and the instrument. They're just one piece, and they're flowing seamlessly.
Yeah.
Um, and it's almost ethereal. It's almost like an out of body experience in a way. When the
Okay.
flow state is really good, it really is, and it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Okay. No, thank you for sharing. So, this is something that I love that you shared. So, do you believe that people are asleep as you've described? And, what does waking up look like? So not just individually, but like collectively as well.
Well, okay, let's look back at 2020 COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Right.
how many people were so quick to don a mask and not question it?
Uh-huh.
So everybody put it on, and like, oh my gosh, yes, stay away from me. 10-foot rule, 20-foot rule.
Yeah.
You know, um, everybody did it. But, I was forced retired out of the U.S. Air Force because I refused to take the C word vaccine. Okay,
Okay.
and I saw it for what it was, but then I, started looking around like, really, you guys are putting on these masks
Okay.
so easily. You're not questioning the narrative at all. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, everybody is asleep because everybody like was quick to don a mask without question,
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, something needs to be done about it. Maybe I need to help wake up people. I was sent back for a reason. Maybe this is the reason.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, I think you and I probably disagree with that because I feel like the opposite though. I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like when that was happening, I felt like things were becoming politicized when they shouldn't. I don't know. I just felt that like the masks and like vaccines are supposed to like help us to I don't like more of a health reason, but I felt like I don't know. I also know that there are people who got really angry when they saw people wearing masks. So I don't know. I think it got kind of outrageous. Like it became a political issue where like people got angry about like, oh, I'm on the mask wearing side, I'm on the not wearing mask side. So I just felt like it got a little silly around that time sometimes. But,
Well, I in my graphic novel, Stigma Squad, I delved into Gnostic Gospels a lot, and I started to see a pattern not only in the Gnostic Gospels but in other things like the Kabbalah, and they talk about um, different levels of humanity.
okay.
And like in the Gnostics, which I decided to use the example of the Gnostics because their levels are the Hylics,
Mm-hmm.
the psychics, and the pneumatics. And
Okay.
every one is at a different level, a different state. So the Hylics are the lowest level. A lot of them don't have technically spirits or
Mm-hmm.
souls. The pneumatics being the middle, being considered then human or normal human that can choose up or
Okay.
down. And then the elevated humans are called pneumatics.
Okay.
And it really holds true when you take a look around. Like, there are people out there like that. There are
Mm-hmm.
people that act like an NPC in a video game. There's like, and they repeat the same thing over and over. They'll tell
Mm-hmm.
you that have you ever met a person that tells the same story over and over and over?
I have.
And
Yeah.
it's like a broken record. It's like, don't you change? Don't you go out and
Yeah.
live your life? Tell me something new.
Yeah.
But there's so many people out there like that, and it's a shame. And those are the people that they described as being the Hylics, is because they don't not necessarily have a soul spark in them.
Okay. What do you think it will take to like wake people up though? And make it, because I think, even going with the mask thing, like not, I don't know. It's just like not just going along with it, but like making your own decisions. I think that's one example, but I think like there's other ones too where like people just follow because that's what everyone else is doing. And I just feel like there's so much division in this world right now. And I feel like sometimes people don't fully understand the issue of or why they're against the issue. It's just like, that's what their party is doing. So that's what they're going to believe. But yeah, what do you think it will take for people to actually wake up and start thinking for themselves?
Well, you said it. You just said it.
Okay.
But I'm going to put it in the context of fear. You said
Okay.
people just follow, and they
Hmm.
follow out of fear. They don't want to be set aside. They're like, "What are you doing? Hey, get back in line." They're going to be told to get back in line. They're going to be told by society, their family, their friends,
Yeah.
politicians, get back in line. What are you doing? They're scared.
Yeah.
They're following because they're scared. There again, fear is keeping them in check.
What do you think can give them that courage though to not live in fear? Because I think it does take a lot of courage to do that. So I'm even thinking like if I'm in a classroom and people are saying things that I disagree with and I'm not raising my hand because I think I'm like the only person who's feeling that way, but it's that one person who raises their hand and disagrees that it start making other people feel comfortable. I'm like, oh, I feel that same way as that one person. So, what can help people like get that courage of getting over that fear that's holding them back?
Well, a lot of it has to do with societal change. So how we teach our
Mm.
children
Okay.
to look at fear. If you have a parent that's scared and acts like a
Hmm.
lemming, they're not going to raise fearless people. They're going to
Okay.
raise more lemmings. So we need to
Uh-huh.
change society as a whole to
Yeah.
look at fear differently. To embrace it and like, look, okay, I'm
Yeah.
feeling this, but I'm going to overcome it and push through it. They
Yeah.
need to see what it is. It's a way to learn.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And actually, the next question I have kind of relates to that. So, in a world filled with noise, fear, and distraction, how can people reconnect with their deeper purpose?
I would say find a way. Everyone has a different way. So if you're religious, pray. If
Mm-hmm.
you're Buddhist, meditate.
Mm-hmm.
Find a way to connect with source,
Okay.
with who you believe is God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's almost always inside. It's internal. It's not going to come from walking into a building, whether it be
Yeah.
a temple, a monastery, a church.
Mm-hmm.
That's a business.
Yeah.
That's a business.
Yeah.
That's some place that needs to pay a bill to keep its lights on. So it's going to, try to get you to join and keep you there to pay its bills.
Yeah.
But, enlightenment comes from within.
No, that's beautiful. And do you feel like there's communities out there that you feel most called to uplift through your work?
I would say the youth, because
Okay.
they can change the world for the better. Very
Yeah.
much the youth. And that's one of the reasons why I started writing an LLP. It was for Gen Z, Gen Alpha. Is,
Mm-hmm.
this is something that they could say, this is us. This is for us. This is, a part of their generation. You know, it's something they can identify with more.
Yeah.
It's poetry hasn't been really written in that size in forever. And
Yeah.
published and put out there and advertised. It really isn't, because it's fallen out of favor. But I'm trying to breathe new life into it, because LLP, I intentionally mimicked rap a little bit, because
Mm-hmm.
then they recognize it. How many of today's youth
Yeah.
can memorize a rap song, beginning the end and backwards and forwards, like it's
Mm-hmm.
nothing? Okay, that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I developed this is so they get used to it. They get, well, I'm not going to say addicted to it, but they enjoy it.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I think that's the kind of work that I try to do too, because, I've been really involved with community work, but now I'm also growing older. So I'm like, I want to help prep the next generation and they have like a lot of energy, a lot of positivity. What kind of hope do you have for the younger generations though? Like what kind of like positive things do you see in their generation?
They're questioning the narrative a lot more
I
than
love
the
that.
prior generations. Yeah, they are questioning the
Yeah.
narrative. Like, well, it's like, hold on, wait a minute. Even
Uh-huh.
something simple like with Charlie Kirk's recent passing. A
Okay.
lot of people say, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. This sounds fishy. A lot of the
Mhm.
youth are standing up and saying something, whereas before, prior years, they weren't. So
Okay.
it's very hopeful. I'm enjoying it, seeing this.
Yeah, no, I love that. And just in your own perspective or opinion, what stories or voices do you feel like are still missing from like storytelling or I know we've talked about like, just you're putting more female representation, but do you feel like there's other like voices or stories that are still like pretty invisible?
Oh
Um
my gosh, I could go into other cultures with this whole LLP and Amazon's theme,
mhm,
and then go into like the Asian,
mhm,
because a lot of females are asked to be subservient, in that
mhm.
culture. And granted, they might
Yeah,
they might see nothing wrong with it.
yeah.
I'm not going to name names, but the culture that the podcast that I talked about earlier that
Mhm.
had a problem with me trying to empower women.
Uh-huh.
A lot of that comes out of India, and there are a lot of young females that need to be empowered there. So I
Mhm.
might actually make a female character for them as well.
Oh wow, that'd be really wonderful. And I love how you're using your platform for something positive. So, what kind of world can you imagine like if you just, we were talking about utopia earlier too, but what's an ideal world look like to you? And what are some small actions that you feel that people can take today, even today, to help move closer to that ideal world?
Well, everyone has an idea of what their ideal world is. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, um, but they look at it as an unreachable, unattainable goal. It's like unreachable, like it's a mountain,
Mm-hmm.
But I always bring up the old joke of how do you eat an elephant, and the answer is one bite at a time.
Okay. I love
So
that.
you need to learn to take small bites, daily bites of the
Mm-hmm.
elephant. In other words, of your goal. If you want to make this world a better place,
Mm-hmm.
take a small bite. Figure out a way to take a small bite.
Okay.
And a lot of it also though starts with making yourself a better person.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of parents out there, myself included, that
Mm-hmm.
feel guilty. Like, okay, if I want to go write this book, or I want to go take
Right.
a professional development class, but that would be time away from the family, and it's selfish. No, it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Making yourself better is one of the best things you could do for your family.
No, I love that. I love your analogy too of taking one bite at a time, like with the elephant. But what can you say to people if they see the elephant and just think it's so overwhelming? Like, what is it like that they can take to like start taking those small bites of the elephant? Because I think it goes, I love that analogy, but I feel like that's what people can also think like, I want to tackle this issue, but it's so big and I don't even want to start. So, how do you think people could even take that first bite of the
Well,
elephant?
don't look at other people that tackled the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Okay.
okay, learn from their example. You
Yeah.
know, you're not the first. You're not the
Yeah.
first, and there are others to start looking for other people and then get ideas from them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. So, what is one message you want people to take away from your life journey so far?
Don't think for 1 second that you won't be judged on the other side. I would
Mm,
say that. Don't think for 1 second that you won't be judged.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And can you further expand on that? So,
Well, okay. If you look at biblical revelations,
hmm
okay, it talks about the mark of the beast. Okay,
okay.
it talks about the mark on the hand, the mark on the forehead.
hmm
But if you then translate it into the Jewish Talmud, okay, what they're
hmm
really talking about is what you do
Okay.
and what you think.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's what will raise you to greatness, or
Yeah.
you will go down.
Yeah. No, thank you
What are
for
you doing right now? Yeah. No, it's all about what you're doing right now.
Break the silence, smoke in the sky. We're rising from ruins, too wild to die. Born for the chaos, built for the game. The louder the battle, the sweeter the name. Raging like thunder, we shatter the night. Lightning and hunger, we're ready to fight. This is the storm that you can't put under. We shake the world, raging like thunder.
But thank you so much for your time. I had such a wonderful time talking with you, and I feel like you educated me a lot about things that I just wasn't aware about. But lastly, before we wrap up, how can people find you if they'd like to connect with you?
Well, if you want to check out the album, we're on all the popular music apps. You just type
Okay.
in the name of the album. It's called Hazing Hades.
Mm-hmm.
And the name of the band is the Angellics with two
Okay.
L's. And my personal website, as far as all my projects, is www.petergunn.net.
Okay, wonderful. I hope that people could check you out, and because yeah, you and all your other work too. You're a really talented artist. But yeah, I had a really great time talking with you, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Denise. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah. Thank you for being here and tuning in to Voices That Propel Us, stories of justice, action, and community. Your presence in this movement matters. If today's conversation moved you, share it, talk about it, and keep the work going. Together, we're not just imagining change, we're making it. Until next time, stay bold, stay grounded, and stay in the fight.
Every time I feel so mad and sad and bad, I say to myself,